Hey guys, I'm back with another video. This time we're going to talk about locking quick draws. So I have another video that talks about different uses of locking quick draws, like rappel extension or top rope, anchor. Those are the two main ones, but there's actually a bunch of other uses. But I wanted to just show you a few extra lockers that are locking quick draws that I picked up over the years. We'll start off with the manufactured one. This is by Metolius. And you can see it's actually literally a built locking quick draw. And so they have different colored gates right here. I guess I've started doing green to the bolt and purple to the rope. And if you get two, then you can do the whole opposite and opposed thing just like this. And yeah, you should be happy. There's nothing wrong with any of this setup. A few things that I like to do personally. One is I actually tend to kind of use a bit more robust anchor, but I'll still use this with guiding. But one thing that I like to do is use steel lockers on the rope end because it helps out the aluminum oxide, not getting as much of that on your rope, so it helps increase the lifespan of your rope. And so what I can do is, I really like how they built these things out where this thing moves all over. These carabiners aren't steel, but you can bear with me. I can take steel carabiners like the Edelrid bulletproofs are great, or just my standard steel carabiners that I use for top rope guiding, and I just clip them into that same loop, carabiner loop, and then instead of clipping these carabiners, I just clip to my two steel carabiners and I can top rope off of that. And so that's one thing I like doing just to help save the aluminum oxide on my rope. Again, if you're not guiding, that doesn't really matter as much. So you can just keep on using the same carabiners that come with the alpine draw. It is worth noting though that since these are aluminum carabiners, eventually the rope will eat its way up into the aluminum and you will have to retire them. And that means in this setup, you would have to retire the whole quick draw, which may be appropriate at the time anyway, because the bolts are also going to eat little burrs into the top of this carabiner. So when this carabiner gets worn out from rope, maybe this carabiner will be worn out from the burrs of the bolt. So that could totally work out, and then you just buy a new set. The other trick is if one carabiner gets worn out more than the other, is just do that same thing that I did, where you take a new carabiner, clip it into the loop right here, and if this is too burred out from whatever, you have your new carabiner right here, and you can keep on using this for the rope. Another thing that I like the idea of using these things for is a bit more of an advanced technique when it comes to ice climbing, where it's common to climb with two ropes going up, so in a more guiding setting. And it's common to lead up with one line, and you have all your points of protection, and then just drape the other rope over a separate line about 10 feet away and belay both clients up. They're essentially parallel to each other going up the wall. It's what we call split rope technique. And for that rope draped over the other side, you want a more critical attachment point like a locking carabiner. So I can see how this could be useful in ice climbing as well. It also wouldn't be bad in just normal multi-pitch climbing if you have like a 35-foot run out or more off of a bolt. Maybe adding in a locking quick draw will give you a little bit more confidence, because you don't want that piece to come unclipped because you're super run out. So these things can come in handy in certain points on routes that you personally travel, or just single pitch routes. So this is made by Metolius. The only downside is they are kind of expensive. I want to say they're like $35 each, something like that. And you can save some money by having a locker draw and a non-locking draw. And if you feel comfortable with that, with them being opposite and opposed, that can work, or you can just buy two. They will last a pretty good amount of time, so it's not really that big of a deal. If I'm using this with rappelling, I can clip this into my belay loop and then do the same thing where I fold this down and clip in my ATC up above, and then rappel with a more pear-shaped carabiner, or something that's a bit nicer to rappel on than this D carabiner. So it's really good that they allow so much room right here in between both of the slots. Okay, so moving on, you can pick up one of these for like $3. You know, every company that makes quick draws will sell individual dog bones. This is like a Dyneema one that I've taken off of a Black Diamond Oz draw. I have a few others. I have a nylon dog bone that's about the same size. And then I also have a few of these extra long ones for again, whatever you want them for. And I do a few mods to mine. This one's made by Petzl. And Petzl, when they sell you dog bones, they'll sell a rubber gasket to go over this end right here. And that's when you clip the carabiner in, you clip it through the rubber gasket, right, to hold that carabiner in place. It's the same as any other quick draw works. Black Diamond, they do it a bit different, where they stick that rubber gasket inside of this hole. So my first step when I buy these things for locker draws is to actually rip out that gasket, so that way I can clip whatever I want. And this hole is about as small as it goes, but it'll fit just about every carabiner that I care to clip into it. And then this one is obviously bigger, so I can even fit 2 carabiners if I want in there. So what would I use the Dyneema dog bone for? I'll mainly use this in alpine routes, big alpine routes, where maybe I have to do that split rope technique or rappel extension or equalizing 2 ice screws. It's pretty common for me to do this with. And what I can do is I can just use the lockers I already have on me. So any technical alpine route, I'm gonna have at least 5 lockers, and I'll just carry this clip to something else on my harness. And then when I need to employ it, I will pull out my 2 carabiners, clip them in real fast, and then it's ready to go. So if I'm on a more technical sort of deal, like just a day of rock work, then I may just have this pre-rigged with whatever carabiners I want, and then it's just on my harness. As far as carabiner selection, you can do 2 pair or HMS carabiners like I got. You could do 2D carabiners. You could do 1D and 1 pair. You can do whatever you want. That's like completely your call. It kind of depends on what you want to do. The SM''D, is not a bad carabiner to use for something like a locker draw, because you can have these 2 clipped together. And then, yeah, I can use the bigger carabiner, rappel extension. I can use it as a rope and a top rope. And then this one's a bit more of a static piece. Another thing I like about these specific design, the SM''D carabiners, is the point here is kind of, it's a bit more of a ramp versus a straight drop. So I can totally rappel on this carabiner just fine, and it's not gonna hurt my rope or focus up on that central point of the carabiner or anything like that. This is a great one to rappel with. So you could just have 2 of these D lockers and have a nice compact locking quick draw for whatever you want. Now if I'm in more of the rock setting, that's when I'll pull out the nylon draw, or maybe more of ice climbing setting. And then I have different lengths. So this is obviously a longer one. I also have a nylon one that's a bit smaller for same stuff. But if I have this longer one, it just allows for more options. If the bolts are further away on a top rope, for example, if I'm doing more top access sort of work and I want to work with clients where I bring them in from the ledge and then lower them down and blade them back up, the locker draw actually offers a lot of versatile uses for that. I have a separate video where I kind of talk about uses, but this is just different dog bones, really. It's nice to pull out the bigger one. You can see I don't use it as much, but it is nice to have that option with a bigger dog bone. I mean, they only cost $3 each, so it's not too hard to get a small quiver to set up your locking quick draws. I personally go through phases where I use a locker draw a lot and then I don't use it a lot at all. Right now I'm coming out of the phase where I'm not using it a lot, but I think they're useful tools, and so many people, especially guides, are starting to swear by them. So if you're like looking to get into guiding, or you've been guiding for a while and haven't used it, go to the store, buy a $3 dog bone, set it up with a few lockers, and just see what different elements you can get from it. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. I think it's really cool to watch them move.
Yeah.